This is GC2 for Unit 37, Functional Keyboard Skills. So today we're using a Novation Launchkey 49 MIDI keyboard. I'm going to be talking through some of the functions that it includes. So first of all, we've got the keys. These are assigned to different notes within Logic Pro, which is the DAW we're using today. So depending on what key you press, a different note will be played through Logic. There's a quick example of that. It's also sensitive to velocity, so the harder I press it, the louder the note is going to be. Next we've got the modulation wheel, which goes from 0 to 127. So 127 is extremely modulated and 0 is no modulation at all, and all the numbers in between. So we can hear the difference there as well. We've got the pitch wheel here as well, which I haven't got working at the moment. So bending that up will bend the note a semitone up, half a semitone up I think, or a semitone, and then down the opposite way while you're pressing a note. Then we've got the octave transpose buttons. We've got a minus and a plus here. So that will change the octave of a note you're playing. So that's changing a note, and it goes all the way up to +4 and all the way down to -3. And you can see I'm staying on the same note there as well. Next we've got sliders, faders. These can be assigned, as well as the dials, to any parameter within Logic. So I've pre-assigned some parameters on an arpeggiator, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. So the faders, both the faders and the dials, these ones move up and down, and these side to side, and they go from 0 to 127 in the units there as well. And finally we have the sample pads. At the moment these are just assigned to notes, so they work just as well as the keys do. But normally you'd use these to assign a sample. So I was playing something on the keyboard in a live performance and I wanted to trigger sample quickly, I'd assign a sample to, say, this one, press that, the sample will go off, and then I can continue playing very nicely and smoothly. Okay, so we're going to go into the arpeggiator here now in Logic. And as I open it up, we can see that I have assigned the rate of the arpeggiator, which is just that one there, to dial 1 on the keyboard. And as I turn it up, the rate goes up, and as I turn it down, it goes down. I've also assigned an octave range, the octave range of the arpeggiator, to the pitch wheel here. So it sits at 2 there, and it can go up to 3, 4, back up 1, down to 1 as well. And fader 1 here I've assigned to the variation of the arpeggiator, which just changes the pattern of the arpeggiator. So we can see as I play a note here, it's on a rate at the moment of 1 to 8 triplet. As I turn this up, you can hear how the pattern, the rate, sorry, of the arpeggiator changes. With me just turning that dial there. Same with the octave range. And also the variation, which is more or less the pattern of the arpeggiation. As we go to 3 and then finally 4. So it's just different variations of the arpeggiation and the pattern of that one. Now, it is good. There are advantages, and disadvantages of assigning certain functions on the keyboard to certain parameters within Logic. And in my opinion, a great function to use for the rate is the dial, as it can be used to change the parameter in tiny increments. So I can move it ever so slightly, it'll go to 1 to 16, move it ever so slightly, it'll go to want to first do. And this is handy when you're playing, for example, in a live situation. If I wanted to go for a build up for a drop in electronic music, and we started on 1 to 2, very slow and building up. And then the music would drop. So that's an example we can use it for there. Another example would be if I was playing a pop music melody, so I was playing and that was the verse pattern for the keyboard part, but then in the chorus the pattern changed and we wanted a slightly different feel to the rate of the arpeggiator. What I could do is play in the verse and then change the dial here to a different rate, and we can have a different feel in the chorus. So it'd be just like that. So that could be used in any pop music song, any music that uses kind of keyboards and synthesizers. And that's the same with the variation in the octave range as well. They can be used in both those contexts. Now the reason I have applied, sorry, I'll get back to the advantage of assigning this parameter to the dial over, for example, the pitch wheel, is because once you've left the dial, it doesn't go back to its original position. So if I wanted to keep it on here and then move it back there, I don't have to keep my hand on there and keep playing for it to be there, and then if I take it off it'll go back. That's why I've assigned it to the dial. However, if I was to assign it to the pitch wheel, if you can see here on the octave range and on the function, it has a spring back function. So when I push it down, it will always go back to the middle, same with the up. So if we see here in the octave range, we can see as I push it up, it'll go to 3 or 4, but then when I let go, it'll go back down to 2, and that's just where it's going to sit. For the octave range, this is a good thing to have, in my opinion, because we can kind of variate the octave of the playing style, but always go back to the same note. Whereas with the rate, if we want to change it for a chorus and we are playing with 2 hands, we can change it quickly with that and it'll stay at a different rate. Whereas if we use this to try and change the rate, if it was assigned to the rate, it would always snap back to that first one you had it at, and that would be a real problem. And in comparison with some of the other functions, the pitch wheel is good to use. However, in this example, I use the dial over it. So thank you. That's been GC2.